There's a lot of hidden lore in the long dark, some of which is only recoverable when the lights turn back on. On the edge of Lower Great Bear, the Broken Railroad is a hub for the Briarhouse Logging Company and the Forest Talkers. For this video, I will be exploring the buffer memories of the Broken Railroad region. If you haven't already, check out the playlist for the other buffer memory videos such as Milton, Carter Dam, Mystery Lake, and the Forlorn Muskeg. Before I continue, please make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep making these videos. For this video, I'm going to go through one set of buffer memories at a time. While both sets have to do with the Briarhouse remote workers, each set is very distinct. Subject: checking in trespassers. From Jerry Baltimore to Rick Dennis. Mr. Dennis, I took one of the trucks over the Muskeg last night. I think you should know there's some strange stuff going on over there on the runs into Mystery Lake. I saw a man on the tracks, but he bolted before I could get very close. A couple minutes later, as I got closer to the tunnel, some idiot started throwing stones at my rig. Charlie took the truck back out to the shed this morning as I'm staying over here at the Briarhouse camp near Carter Dam to finish up. But if you're wondering why the windshield has a big ol' crack in it, that's why. Jerry Baltimore, crew number 2. Subject: update, Forest Talkers. From Jerry Baltimore to Rick Dennis. Mr. Dennis, we were out in the hills over the coastal highway this morning when we saw a couple guys messing with our truck. We chased after them, but they had a head start and scampered away before we could get back up there. We found an old knapsack nearby with some papers in it talking about Forest Talkers, some kind of new green group, I bet. They must have done something to the truck as it was bucking and lurching after that on the drive back to the lake, including over the trestle. We figured water in the gas tank, but no matter. Was damn scary. What does management plan on doing about these guys messing with us? Are you going to back us up? J. Baltimore, crew number 2. Subject: second response, update, Forest Talkers. From Jerry Baltimore to Rick Dennis. Mr. Dennis, thanks for getting back to me. It's good to know you passed on the word to management about getting more security out to the shed. Even if we can't always keep an eye on everything when we're out working, it's good to know our gear should be safe overnight there. Jerry, crew number 2. Subject: status update. From Jerry Baltimore to Rick Dennis. Mr. Dennis, the tremors are getting worse. Any word from above on whether we still have to take the short way to Coastal Highway? Even with a stable trestle, it's a nervous enough trip as it is. And our gear is already out in the open over there for the eco-hippies still running around the woods this year. I know it's more gas and a longer trip, but if we take the long way around, me and the guys would feel a lot better about things. We all thought you should know. Jerry. What we're seeing here are various messages from Jerry Baltimore to Rick Dennis. The first buffer memory is something I partially covered in the Carter Dam Buffer Memories video. Jerry drove across the Muskeg and saw a mysterious person running on the train tracks, which I believe was Jeremiah based on how the person reacted to the approaching truck. Jeremiah does not like people. Afterwards, it is clear he ran into some Forest Talkers. At this time, the Forest Talkers have moved on after dealing with Carter. I suspect this means the buffer memories are from the very late 1990s or later. In fact, Briarhouse and the Forest Talkers continue to spar even up to the start of Wintermute. The second and third buffer memories continue to support the feud between Briarhouse and the Forest Talkers. Based on this line about management and how they would handle the Forest Talkers problem, I believe that Rick is a supervisor for this group of workers. The second buffer memory suggests the Forest Talkers are actively sabotaging Briarhouse. The third one is actually a response to Rick's response to the second buffer memory. Even though we don't see Rick's response to the second buffer memory, we know that management agreed to get more security to help the workers. The fourth buffer memory is about the earthquakes and how they affect the workers. It also suggests something puzzling. Between the Broken Railroad and the Coastal Highway, there is a railroad that Briarhouse uses for their work. This railroad is the only way to get between these regions. Where is this other route that is mentioned? The ravine route with the trestle is the only way to go, but there is apparently another way. I don't know where on the map that could be. I don't think there is a way to drive from the Broken Railroad to the highway past the Bleak Inlet. I have no idea how this is possible. Med Transmit 1. Responded to the railroad worker near the ravine. Bad encounter with a wolf, they said. His leg took the worst of it, but I couldn't do much. Med Transmit 2. Their antiseptic was expired, and they had no other meds on hand. Used most of my kit treating him, but even then I expect a poor outcome. Med Transmit 3. The hike up to Overlook after the call came in over the radio was uneventful. It had started to snow, which didn't leave me confident about an evac if we needed it. Med Transmit 4. Was clear they had tried to fashion a crude splint for the patient's leg. It was ineffective and he was suffering badly. The wolf bite had gone right to the bone, which was visible. Med Transmit 5. For future attacks, we'd benefit from some kind of follow-up protocol for these remote workers. They don't trust us, but it could be a way to build something. This set of buffer memories are from a medic unit sent to rescue a remote worker for Briarhouse. They tell the story as it happens. It mentions a ravine, but I believe it does not refer to the ravine along the railroad near the trestle. Instead, this is the ravine on the edge of the broken railroad. It seems that the workers are not a fan of this rescue team. This makes sense if the workers are from Great Bear Island and the medics are from the mainland. It is most likely a contracted service that Briarhouse has on standby in case of an emergency. There is a divide between Great Bear Island natives and outsiders, and I would not be surprised if this is the reason they don't trust them. If this is the case, then these buffer memories are from after the collapse in 2012. Based on what both sets of buffer memories tell us, it is very clear that these workers were lacking resources needed for security. The workers are ill-prepared for this job, which has many risks. From eco-activists to wolves, this job is very dangerous. Briarhouse was putting their workers at risk by not providing security measures. We know from Wintermute episode 2, Jeremiah makes it clear that there are no hospitals around at all. These medical emergency teams are probably the best chance that anyone would have in a serious emergency out in the wild. We also know that the island used to have SAR coverage, which would use the island's radio transmitter towers to triangulate emergency signals. With those transmitters being jammed at some point in time, that service would eventually disappear. I imagine there could be a clinic in places like Port Mary, but that is very far from the broken railroad. This war between Briarhouse and the Forest Talkers would eventually intensify. In Wintermute episode 2, the Lake Gunshots Forest Talker had evidence that Briarhouse was cutting trees in the Mystery Lake region illegally. If it wasn't for the start of the Quiet Apocalypse, things would have gotten much more serious between these two parties. This video is definitely not the last time you will hear about the Forest Talkers. Just a heads up for anyone watching this before or the week of the June 24th, 2024 update for the Long Dark. This will be the last regular lore video for a few weeks. With the arrival of the final tale, Last Horizon, I can already foresee myself having to make upwards of 5 to 6 videos to cover the conclusion of the expansion story. Once all of those videos are done, I will get back to the final video for the Wintermute episode 2 story arc. Methuselah's story will conclude this series of videos. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep making them.